most part the same team.
Yeah, and you guys can see the rosters for today. Haru is going to be in the jungle for Samsung Galaxy, and we do have Shy in the top lane for the ROX Tigers. So Linderon taking a little break. Let's jump into pick and ban here. We're going to start with the Malzahar ban.
Yep, Malzahar banned away first by Samsung Galaxy, although it has been a frequent first pick when you're on the blue side. I don't expect anything different out of red side, outside of the LeBlanc, Camille, and Rengar bans. Those are the standard bans from red, and generally blue side dictates the pace of how the initial draft phase will go. And with an Elise ban, not something I was really expecting to see.
You've been talking a lot about that red side Varus. Looks like Samsung does not want to let ROX have that pick here. Going to look to ban that out as their third ban.
Red side Varus banned away. ROX Tigers probably just forced to ban the Rengar here. And now Samsung Galaxy, they have to decide what they want as their first pick. Kha'Zix might be a viable first pick. He is the strongest jungler in the game, and when you have Malzahar banned away, and Varus also banned away, that is one of the safest picks because it is one of the versus all champions.
Here we go again, LS prediction time on the pick and ban phase. The Kha'Zix first pick, it looks like the ROX Tigers are thinking about a Jace here.
And instead, now they hover Rek'Sai. They might just lock that in, and we'll have to see what they accompany that with. And this is mostly just to respond to the Kha'Zix pick. They don't really need to give away too much information before letting Samsung Galaxy develop their draft a little bit more.
Okay, so they are going to go for the Jace, it looks like, after the Rek'Sai pick. Looking towards that right now is the ROX Tigers. There you do go. So locked in Rek'Sai and Jace so far. Let's see what Samsung Galaxy wants to pick here.
Not sure exactly how they'll respond here. They could just respond with AD carry support, because you can't actually know if the Jace is going to go up on the top lane on Shy or if they're going to put it on Mickey in mid lane. So if Zyra, now one of the interesting things there, if they do pick the Zyra and they accompany it with an AD carry, the ROX Tigers can then just respond with Misfortune before it goes to the second pick ban phase, because if it does go to the second pick ban phase, then Samsung Galaxy will have the option to actually ban away the MF, and if they do elect to lock in Jhin right here, then I feel like Samsung Galaxy will be banning away AD carries and supports to funnel the ROX Tigers into a very specific team composition. And if this is going to be the case, with Varus already banned, Samsung Galaxy might just decide to ban away Ashe. And so now the question that the ROX Tigers is asked is, are you going to pick Misfortune here, or are you going to pick Ashe to respond as a soft counter to the Jhin? But you have to know that you only have one of those two choices now before we enter into the second pick ban phase.
Well, looks like they're going to go with the support here. Locked in at the last second is Misfortune. So as you were saying, could be expecting some AD carry bans here out of Samsung. But what is ROX going to ban here first? That is the first question we got to answer. It looks like Cassiopeia, no mid laner chosen yet. I suppose the Jace could go in the mid lane, as you were talking about.
Yep, Jace could be one of the mid laners indeed. And Samsung Galaxy, I feel like, again, the bans will be entirely focused at the AD carries right now. So we might actually just see Ashe, Caitlyn banned away by Samsung Galaxy, and that forces ROX onto Ezreal as the remaining AD carry champion, and that's not one of the best combos when you pair it with Misfortune. It also forces the ROX Tigers team composition into a very specific poke comp.
Look at that, 2 bans towards Crown. You got Cassiopeia and Orianna banned out here. And so Crown is, you know, there are a lot of mid lane picks, but it seems like specifically they did not want to go up against those two.
Samsung Galaxy electing to ban away the Ryze, and this might be a decision because they might be anticipating Crown to potentially pick Aurelion Sol. Otherwise, I can't understand why Samsung would ban away the Ryze. Ryze is considered one of the counters to Aurelion Sol.
Corki coming out here would be interesting. You begin to set up a ton of poke damage if you got Jace and Corki on your team.
Samsung now forced to respond to Corki being a mid lane champion. Maokai being hovered, this is one of the more popular top lane champions right now in the world. Extremely versatile. very tanky late game, but then it poses the question that can he make it there against the Jace? Now, oh, okay, it's gonna be a Victor. Not a champion I was actually expecting to see. It is Samsung Galaxy and it is Crown's Victor, but Victor has been indirectly hit by the changes to the meta, changes to the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. And he can have a very shaky laning phase, and if he can't be allowed to make it to the mid game, then there's a lot of other problems that end up arising. And one of Samsung Galaxy's problems so far in LCK Spring has been that the way that they move around their champions and where they choose to send people has oftentimes made it so that Crown's Victor wasn't able to get to the end game stage to get into carry mode, and ROX finalizing their draft phase with the Ezreal. I felt like it would either be the Ezreal or the Caitlyn.
Yeah, so a very interesting composition here for the ROX Tigers. You got Ezreal, you got Corki, Jace, even Rek'Sai can do a bit of poke damage, as well as Miss Fortune's ultimate. So they're just going to be looking to poke down Samsung, I suppose, and try to disengage. I just feel like they don't have too much disengage, though. You know, they have the Unburrow from Rek'Sai for, you know, a knockup, but that's about it.
Yep. They have a little bit of versatility via Jace's gate. That can be offered as engage and disengage, but ROX Tigers' team composition is very one-dimensional. Whereas Samsung Galaxy, they have a few more options available to them. Neither team is really that powerful at controlling Baron, which I feel like Samsung or ROX is going to need that in order to win the game. And it's going to come down to if ROX can actually get a lead that is going to be big enough for them to outpoke Samsung's team comp and manage to accelerate them to a victory.
Yeah, so definitely going to be an interesting game number one here. Taking a look at Samsung's lineup. You see, as I mentioned before, Haru is in fact in the jungle here for Samsung Galaxy. So they are going to be using him for game number one at least. You do see Shy up in the top lane, up on that Jace. Going to be making some plays in this game, no doubt. Thank you for joining us, guys, here on the SPO TV broadcast of LCK. We're going to be jumping into game number one now. Samsung Galaxy versus the ROX Tigers. You guys can see the lineup right there. Go ahead and tell your friends to join the stream. It's going to be a fun day of games. But let's jump into game number one right now. Samsung Galaxy versus the ROX Tigers. I have to say the cheer girl for the ROX Tigers was a bit louder, so it seems like they did win the cheer war starting in game number one here. Looks like both teams just going to spread out and cover all their bases.
Yep, both teams just deciding to fan out, and this has been the most popular of choices so far in LCK. We have seen some aggression come out from some teams looking to get an early lead, but so far this spring split has been the story of everyone just wanting to play safe early on.
So we're just going to wait here until the minions spawn and go ahead into game number one here. See some wards going down for vision by the red side, by the ROX Tigers.
And Haru, it will be starting blue buff, and Seonghwan's going to be starting red buff. And one of the things that we can look for here is if Seonghwan's going to give the blue over to Mickey. One of the things that Mickey and Seonghwan could try to do is force Crown to recall early before he's able to get to the gold needed for the Hex Core upgrade. And giving Mickey a blue buff would certainly be a way to add pressure and enable Mickey to do that.
So we're taking a look here at the bottom lane just to start things off. You're talking about how Ezreal, Miss Fortune, not the best of combos, but at least they do have a bit of poke in that lane, as I suppose every lane of the ROX Tigers does have.
Yep, they do have a little bit more poke indeed, but the problem where they're going to have to be a little bit more careful is around the levels 3 through 5. That's when jungler interaction becomes very possible, and it's also where the poke, well, the poke back from Ruler and Core JJ's Jin and Zyra becomes really scary for Songyun and Key.
You see that Mickey's already taking a ton of damage here from Crown, but Crown does begin to get out of mana from all of that poke. He is going to continue to go, but now he's almost totally out of mana. Maybe one more spell could come out of him. So you can see Mickey's not really scared at all, just sticking around, looking to push that lane as hard as possible. But here comes Haru, and he may have made a mistake here. The exhaust comes down in first blood at 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the game. Mickey just gets caught out there in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Mickey making that mistake early on, what he was trying to do was that method that I talked about where you try to attack Victor's mana pool early on, and by doing that you can force a premature recall and really just delay when Crown would be able to get that Hex Core upgrade, which completely changes how Victor can play the lane. But in doing so, he took a little bit too much poke back from Crown, and he was extremely susceptible for a gank, which Haru capitalized on.
Yeah, right at 2 minutes and 50 seconds too. We didn't really, let me take a look here on the map. He had no wards, just one on the opposite side actually.
Yep.
So just didn't see Haru coming in.
He didn't see him coming in. He didn't have the level 3 so that the Valkyrie would make him that much safer. And as we return to live, it looked like another gank was going to come down onto Mickey, but it seems like Crown is going to be able to just safely glide right into the Hex Core upgrade. Mickey's not going to be able to do anything about that.
A good start for Crown on a comfort pick here on the Victor. See 2 wards there were placed in the mid lane. Not sure about why that was the case, but Crown going to stick around, not going to go back just yet. Continue farming on. Does still have a potion.
Lots of pressure right now in mid lane. Problem for Seonghwan now is he doesn't really have a lane that he can go to. Even if he tries to come into mid lane, you can see that Crown is aware that it's a possibility. That's why he's positioning the way that he is. But this is a very obvious indication that Crown is trying to get to the Hex Core because he's not just recalling. He's waiting for the lane to come to him. He knows that he needs a little bit more gold in order to get that item. And meanwhile, Seonghwan was unable to go to top lane because of the way that the lane was positioned by Shy. And so he doesn't really have too much to do, and that's really problematic because I talked about earlier on that the Tigers need to do something early on to get an edge over the Samsung team composition.
See, an early pink ward was placed there by the Tigers, but it does get cleared out. Here comes Haru again, and Mickey, oh man, taking a ton of damage, but does live in the end, is able to Valkyrie away. They're just going to look to push this as fast as possible and punish Corki for that recall.
Yep. Both mid laners going to recall now. This is going to benefit Crown more so than Mickey. Mickey's first item, it looks like, is going to be the Hex Drinker. And in bottom.
Yeah, a bunch of damage coming down. Exhaust goes down too. Just going to force the flash out. Nicely done by the Samsung bot lane, but Key is safe and alive.
And the other thing that this does is they know that Seonghwan just came off the left-hand side of his jungle, and now he's going to be forced and funneled into the right-hand side. And that kind of a trade, getting Key's flash away from him, getting the heal off of Songyun, and having the lane push into Samsung Galaxy, prevents Seonghwan from making any use of the bottom lane now.
Here we go again, another bunch of damage coming in. Here comes Haru from behind. Thankfully, Key does have that exhaust, but the knock up there, or rather the root is going to get Key. He will go down, so Samsung off to a great start here early on in the game.
Juve now roaming down to mid lane. They know that Mickey doesn't have his flash.
Bunch of damage coming down. You can see Crown did hit 6 first. He was looking to take advantage of that, but Corki easily just able to Valkyrie away and survive.
Seonghwan clearing out some wards. Crown placing a ward down. And it looks like he's actually roaming to mid lane. I don't know what he's going to be able to do. Doesn't have a Sightstone, not like he's going to be able to place any sort of vision inside of Haru's red side jungle. And Crown content to just let the wave become defensive. And Shy, I mean, up in top lane, he does have quite a CS advantage over Juve, but that's almost expected in this matchup. I would be surprised if this wasn't happening.
It's kind of funny, I almost forgot that top lane existed. We finally got a look at it 7 minutes into the game. Jace doing good, as you were talking about. Core JJ just making his presence felt here in the mid lane. looking to push that as much as possible, clear out all the pink wards. You can see so many of them placed very early on in the game. Already a third one in the red side jungle of Samsung.
Sungwon now maybe looking to get some vision control around the blue. Just gonna get the Scuttle Crab instead. And now with the mid laner and jungle resetting, Sungwon needs to probably make something happen. We'll see if he takes the Scryer. He doesn't. Instead just wards the blue. They know that it's up.
He's gonna look to take it here too. You can see Kha'Zix is all the way down in the bot lane looking to make something happen. So Sungwon, nice read by him to come in at that time and take away that blue buff that's gonna be totally taken away from the victor here.
Oh, and this this is a really, really interesting play here by Haru, moving into bottom. The problem is that ROX should be able to suspect this.
Oh, the jump on in, and here comes the ultimate from Jin, and he gets a 3-shot here. Down goes Ezreal, so Samsung goes up to 3 kills to 0 now, already 1,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, Samsung goes up to 3 kills. They have control over the bottom half of the map. Inferno Drake is the one that is alive. And I feel like, okay, Key.
Gotta be careful. Taking a bit of damage, already down to half health, and you can see how fast Samsung is pushing that bot lane.
Meanwhile, in mid lane, basically just going even in CS score right now, but the edge is gonna go over to Crown. Oh no.
Oh boy, Nikki coming on in. Does have that big package. Gonna get away. Not take too much damage. Sungwon going very deep in the Samsung jungle, but is going to get away.
Haru picks himself up a ward. Meanwhile, Core JJ getting some deep vision in on Sungwon's blue side jungle. They'll know exactly when he goes over there. And so far, nothing else has really happened this match. We see Cuvee elects into Ninja Tabai.
Oh boy, Nikki, is the Valkyrie gonna help you this time? It turns out that the exhaust is going to save his life. Haru not able to one-shot that Corki essentially.
Crown getting low on mana right now. Might need a recall soon. Instead, it looks like he's moving down, perhaps to get some sort of vision control, but ROX, I mean, the story of their laners is that they're just constantly shoving. It's almost like they're not giving any help to Sungwon to try to set up or coordinate some sort of a gank. And sure, while in top lane they have a CS advantage, mid lane the CS is pretty much even. It's not really doing them any good. And in this replay, the interesting thing here is that Haru, using his ultimate, shows up on Songyun before he was able to react properly. And because of the curtain call, it's all too easy for them to set up that kill.
You can actually see that Haru jumps away before Ezreal is dead. Lots of trust in his AD carry. Doing a good job even in 2017. Here comes Haru into the Infernal Drake all alone. The Scuttle Crab was taken by the ROX Tigers, but does not see this. And there's essentially no answer for them as Kha'Zix continues to get to work on that Infernal Drake.
Yep, Haru gonna be able to pick up the Infernal Drake for free. No response. Well, they're gonna know now. That's really unfortunate for the ROX Tigers.
Nothing seeming to go quite right for the ROX Tigers here so far. They've kind of evened up that gold lead. It's only about 700 ahead compared to the 1,000 that Samsung was ahead before.
Mickey clearing out the Scuttle Crab right now. Cuvee is going to find him, though, force him to back off. And now Cuvee is going to be the one that gets the Scuttle Crab. And right now, as you mentioned, the gold gap's about 1,000 right now. The only problem that the ROX Tigers has with that, though, is that their champions don't scale quite as well as Samsung Galaxy's. And so you would expect the ROX Tigers to actually have a gold advantage, especially with that top lane matchup. But we're just not seeing it here yet, and Corki's Trinity Force is significantly delayed because he had to opt into that Hex Drinker early on. And so what should have been an explosive mid-game is not going to be the case for the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, especially when you have this kind of composition, if you're this far behind, that poke doesn't seem to do all that much damage. Maokai's hiding in that brush, and they may want to go onto Shy. Here comes Kha'Zix with the ultimate. Totally invisible, going to get to work here, but a flash is going to save Shy's life. Kha'Zix also getting pretty low, going to be forced to back off.
Shy gets really low. They've managed to blow his flash. Both top laners still have teleport up. Shy has to be really careful here. He wants to get vision inside of that brush, but he can't know for certain that Haru recalled. So you see him just play it a little bit more defensive and place the ward in a position that would still make him relatively safe from ganks.
See, the bot lane is very even for now. Just the one kill going over to Jin, and the one going over to Zyra, but the CS only 4 apart at this point in time.
Haru finding Seonghwan, trying to steal his Wraith camp, and Seonghwan manages to win the Smite fight. Backed up a little bit by Mickey here.
Yeah, it's putting some of that poke down onto Crown, and Seonghwan isn't going away. Okay, he's going to use that blasting plant. Jump over the wall. Just a bit of a lull here as we're entering the mid-game. Samsung pretty comfortable for now, especially with that Infernal Drake. Going to make things a bit easier when they do get the engage off fights.
While in bottom, it's basically the same story over and over, where Ki and Songyun just constantly shoving the wave into Ruler and Core JJ, and not much really being accomplished. Songyun a little behind in CS right now, but not gonna matter. Meanwhile, in mid.
Oh boy, the exhaust going down, and that should be a kill. Here comes Haru. The flash is not going to save Mickey's life. Not sure why he used it there, and oh boy, actually Jin able to kill Miss Fortune in the bot lane at the same time. No doubt we'll get a replay of that. Find out how that went down.
And Songyun now gonna have to find a way to stay alive. They see that Seonghwan making his way down, but First Blood turret's a very real threat right now. And obviously Ruler and Core JJ want to stay here for the First Blood turret. That's why they're rotating down Haru, so that Seonghwan can't offer any assistance.
Yep,
Meanwhile, Shy gonna steal away blue. That is a nice little pickup for him, because it does indirectly hit Crown.
Yeah, second time that's happened. That's basically the only good thing in this game so far for the ROX Tigers, is that they continuously take the blue away from Victor. That's about it. Let's get a replay of the bot lane, see how this went down.
Not exactly sure how this goes down, because they have vision on them. And, okay, Core JJ summons his plants. Okay, no, so Ki gets locked up, and then the curtain call and the Zyra ultimate, just too much damage. But a very peculiar 2v2 resulting in the death of Ki, not something that you would expect to see at this level of play.
It's just, if you get rooted by Zyra in that kind of situation, you're going to sustain so much damage, and not using the exhaust even wasn't close enough to Jin, so it doesn't really matter, and a ton of damage coming out from Zyra too. So you just can't be that close to Zyra at that point in the game, I suppose.
Seonghwan just barely avoided getting rooted. And so far, the story of this game is that the Tigers have been basically outclassed in every single lane. You can't even say that Shy was really outperforming Cube when it's expected that Maokai would fall behind to a Jace.
Yeah, and he's not even that far behind, you know, about 19 CS. Here comes Haru again. Maybe a mistake this time. Going to try to use that ultimate to get away, and Crown is there to support. And oh boy, Ruler making his way into the top lane, and Shy, whatever advantage he did have, is going to go away. What is going on in this game? Okay, Ezreal goes down as well. Now we're at 7-0 for Samsung. Didn't even get to see that kill come down. Not sure how Maokai was able to 1v1 him in bot lane.
I'm not quite sure exactly what is going on in this game. And now top tower is going to go down. Meanwhile, no response in bottom lane to Cube, and even if there was, Haru's right there to back him up.
This looks like one of my solo queue games, man. This is just getting way out of control right now.
Samsung might think that they're still in America. And we're going to take a look at that replay. So meanwhile, up in top lane, Shy getting rooted. And, I mean, it's just a super easy kill. Meanwhile, in bottom lane, why is Songyun that far up? I don't know.
What is going on, man? He just gets totally locked up and goes down. 1v1ing is the Maokai Now a Ocean Drake going to go over to Samsung, so that's 2 Drakes now to them, and a 5,500 gold lead for Samsung.
5,500 gold lead at 18 minutes, and they're the ones with the scaling team composition. You see that Crown opted for the final Hex Core evolution, so definitely getting the most bang for his buck early on. And that's going to play right into the hands of the accelerated early game that they're having right now. Tigers are going to be really hard-pressed to find an answer and somehow sustain through this to get to a point where they can start trying to fight back via poke.
Yep, not sure how they're going to get there, but they have to do something fast. Definitely not a great position here. Crown looking to go down in the bot lane, and just immense pressure from Samsung all over the map here, as there still seems to be no answer for the ROX Tigers.
You can see that now this enters into the stage of the game where Crown starting to get on his split push, and this is something that I talked about earlier on, where Samsung tends to do this whether they're ahead or behind, and obviously when they're ahead, the ROX Tigers don't have any sort of a response to it, and Crown is just going to continue to get further ahead. And keeping Jin in that mid lane right now means that whenever Samsung needs him, Ruler can just go a little bit up or a little bit down to cast the curtain call in either of the side lanes.
Bit of a party bush was going on here with Haru and Core JJ, but you can see just how careful Mickey is being on that Corki. He does have the big package as well. As long as he doesn't get rooted, he should be fine. Looking to make a defense here in the mid lane. They do have a decent amount of wave clear, especially with that Corki.
Are managing to hold on for a little bit. Okay.
Oh boy, look at all that damage. And he just gets melted. And oh, Rek'Sai just barely gets away. He's forced to flash away from Crown at the end of it all.
Flash for Flash Haru, maybe wanting something to happen in mid. Shy moving into darkness right now has to be really careful, but I don't know what the ROX Tigers are supposed to do here, because it just seems like they keep getting blown up regardless of whatever they try to do.
Good read by Mickey, able to not die to the Kazakhs there, waiting in the brush. The push in the mid lane does continue. You just take a look at ROX Tigers, their score right now, just 0-3, 0-2, 0-2, 0-1. No luck for them so far. They're looking to make a kill here on Haru, and Core JJ gets very low. He does go down to Mickey. Missing a bunch of kills in this game, too much action.
Yep. So ROX Tigers able to pick up one of their first kills, and they're looking like they're in position maybe to try to get mid-tier 1 turret, although instead Mickey is gonna recall.
Gonna throw a sapling out here, not going to land. ROX has a bunch of members in mid, just trying to stop this push as fast as possible. Let's take a look at the replay here. Looks like Core JJ was recalling.
Oh, so Core JJ was recalling, got scouted out there by the blue trinket, and then go flash for flash, and Mickey picks up that kill, and that's something that they did desperately need. The only concern I have, though, is that now Mickey is flashless, so he only has one way out of teamfights via his Valkyrie.
Yeah, gonna have to play it very carefully, very way back in these fights, and not really a big front line here for the ROX Tigers either to protect him. Big rotation up into mid. Here comes Crown and Haru looking to potentially push that lane. Rek'Sai is going to go up there and defend.
And everything that the ROX Tigers need to be doing, they are doing at this point. Trying to pick up farm when necessary. Ruler might die.
Oh man, big flash away, and he does survive somehow. Mickey trying to go on in, and here comes the curtain call, and uh-oh, no Valkyrie there for Mickey, and he may have just baited someone, and two, he goes down as well. Oh man, the horror here for the ROX Tigers, just being blown up time after time in these team fights, just going too deep.
Going a little bit too deep. They thought that they could get Ruler, didn't respect his ability to get out of that, and then the ROX Tigers just too committed at that point, so when Crown arrived, it was too easy for them to clean everything up. Meanwhile, Cuvée continuing to push in bottom lane. They're going to pick up the blue buff. Dragon coming up in a minute, and now we're entering into the point of the game where Baron becomes a very real possibility, and Corki and Ezreal aren't really in a position yet to try to dissuade Samsung if they want to go for the Baron.
Oh boy, Sangyu just barely able to get out of that one. You can see that Samsung was trying to set up a play. This is going to offer them the tower instead. The root going down onto Key. He's got to be so careful, even that far away from the tower. That is going to be the third, or rather the fourth turret going to Samsung. 4 of them already down at 23 minutes.
Now Songyun pushing back the wave, but meanwhile, we're going to take a quick look at this replay and how this was set up. They didn't have any vision control on the right-hand side.
Damn.
Yeah.
Got the zoom-in rotation there.
Zoom-in rotation indeed, and you could see that Mickey wasn't quite in range to try to hit Ruler, and then Victor arrives, and from there, it's basically all over. Hex Drinker not really going to help much against the Curtain Call, and then Seonghwa not able to really get away, eats Curtain Call bullets and the Death Ray.
Ruler having a fantastic game so far, just really following up off of all of his teammates very, very well with the Curtain Call, making that Jin pick look fantastic. Here comes Crown. I think he may have gone a little bit too deep. No, the rest of his team is going to come in, and actually it's going to turn out to Seonghwa. He goes down. Oh, there's the Curtain Call to Mickey. Missing the last couple of shots there, expecting a couple of jukes to the right side, it looks like. Just as I compliment him, does miss the kill on Mickey.
And now they did pick up another Infernal Drake, by the way, so that's double Infernal Drake for a Jin Victor team composition. And the Kazakhs.
Oh, look at this. They're just going to go for Baron. There's no vision, and I'm not sure what the Tigers could do at this point either. They are going to come down. The Scrying Plan goes down. The MF Ultimate, it just does not matter. As long as Samsung can successfully disengage, that's essentially a free Baron going over to them.
Free Baron indeed. The ROX Tigers going to try to push in this minion wave and capture at least a turret. They should be able to do that before Samsung Galaxy can get in position. Mickey also going to steal away the red buff. And they're just trying to do what they can to stabilize, but the incoming siege that is going to come out of Samsung, not quite sure what ROX can do to prevent it.
Not much. I mean, they have Corki for the wave clear, Corki Jace. Not bad. MF also pretty decent. But that's about it. They're just going to be looking to clear those waves as fast as possible. You can see an immense amount of gold so far onto Ruler and Cuve, actually, in that top lane. Victor joining them up there in the 10,000 club.
I really like the fact that Crown is itemizing into the Lich Bane, going to give him a little bit of CDR. And also the fact that the Tigers basically have a lot of squishies is going to enable that Lich Bane a little bit further, especially shredding the turrets.
You can see the siege here. There's not much that the ROX Tigers can do for their tier 2 turrets. Going to be a free one going over to Samsung, already 10,000 gold ahead, and I was expecting a quicker day because of SKT later on. But man, the Samsung is making it work too. Shai sustaining a ton of damage, and Ruler just attempting to poke them down. They have a decent amount of poke themselves. And that's going to be another tier 2 turret, the 6th of the game, going over to Samsung.
Now they've cleared out all of the outer tier 2 turrets. Gonna steal away a little bit of the jungle away from Seonghwa. And the game takes a little bit of a breather yet again. Lich Bane completed now for Crown, and you can see all the control wards that are up for Samsung Galaxy. They know that it's going to be a vision fight, and they need to find their way into the Tigers' base. So if you're the Tigers at this stage of the game, all that you can really hope to do is you understand that Samsung's team comp, or Samsung in general, is higher level than you. The minions are going to come to you, and you just need to find a way to try to stabilize, get to a point where everyone's at core items, and then try to win a fight by poking down Samsung Galaxy when another major neutral objective is up.
Cuve making life hard for Shai, not letting him recall. In the top lane, you see he actually walks all the way back to the pool. They're looking to make something happen here onto Mickey, but he is just going to Valkyrie away. And as you were saying, it really just looks like the ROX Tigers struggling to hold on death's door, essentially, as Samsung continues to push with that Baron.
I really like how they're making use of a 1-2-2 here. Haru more than able to protect Crown, especially if Crown throws down that gravity field, because the ROX Tigers, their team comp is so reliant on being together as a unit. And when you begin to pick and pull at them via anything of a 3-0 to a 1-0-4, makes it really difficult for them to hold. And with the Baron buff still alive, it makes it that much more difficult.
The Baron buff going to end here in 5 seconds, but not before they lose their top turret as well. And as you were saying, the ROX Tigers trying to stay together, but they're going to lose their mid turret. Inhibitor now vulnerable, but Samsung going to play this one a bit slower, not going to force it just yet.
You can see that Ruler is by himself in the bottom lane, but I mean, in order to kill him, you need to send 2.
Oh man, and look at that. Shy just disappears off the map, and Sungwon going to suffer the same fate. Key gonna go down as well. Exhaust not gonna help you at this point in time. Ruler looking to make some. Oh man, the huge 4th hit going down. Flash for flash here in the bot lane, and Mickey just trying to make his KDA look better at this point in time. It doesn't really matter even if he gets the kill.
Yep.
And he may do that, he does, but he's using 2 inhibitors at the same time as Samsung looks to take a very, very fast game number 1.
Ruler feeling generous there. Decides to let Mickey have 2. And that's going to be it as the Nexus turrets fall. There's Mickey, I mean, he's there, but he's really not.
It's like he doesn't exist at this point in time. Another exhaust going to go down, and that is going to be it. Game number 1 going over to Samsung in 29 minutes and 7 seconds. Very, very nicely done, and it looks like starting Haru tonight working out very well for Samsung.
Working out very well indeed. They just dismantled the ROX Tigers in every single lane. Everything was basically one-sided, with the exception of top lane, but you can't really make a Maokai completely demolish a Jace, so that's pretty acceptable. And if the ROX Tigers want to do something different in game number 2, they really need to change up their lane dynamics and have more interaction with their jungler, because they just weren't doing anything to enable Sungwon in that game.
Yeah, a very, very weak game for sure for the ROX Tigers. They're going to have to switch something up going into game number 2. And you have to wonder, are they going to make some roster swaps too? They could potentially put Linderong up in the top lane. I don't feel like Shy was really bad in that game. Like, he didn't really mess up in a big way.
I don't feel like Shy was really the main reason that game went the way that it did. But he also didn't do them any favors by just constantly shoving in and maintaining a CS advantage, because Jace versus Maokai is determined more by how close can Maokai keep up in CS, not by if just Jace gets a CS advantage.
Yeah. Maybe you see a fed Jace and he begins to hunt down the Victor, stuff like that. But either way, guys, we are going to take a quick break and jump to that analyst desk in just a few minutes.